With Sony's mobile future uncertain, the Japanese giant really needs to hit a home run if they want to win over today's smartphone consumers. With that goal in mind, Sony recently unveiled 3 new members of the Sony Xperia family. I recently was able to get my hands on the Sony Xperia Z5, and spent a great deal of time getting familiar with it. How does this new flagship compare to its predecessors? Is this the Xperia we've all been waiting for? We find out in this comprehensive review of the Sony Xperia Z5. The design of the Z5 will be very familiar to those who have followed the Xperia series over the years, keeping the company's iconic omni-balanced language, albeit with a few tweaks that help further refine the looks. I'll be honest, this is not my favorite smartphone when it comes to design, but I do think it has a sense of luxury and elegance to it, more so than most other phones on the market right now. Around the Z5 we have a smooth metal frame with frosted glass on the back. In the top left corner of the rear, you'll find the 23-megapixel camera with its LED flash underneath. The design certainly looks rather beautiful and feels good too, but the glass does admittedly make the phone a little slippery. The phone isn't too thick, it is a little bigger than the Z3 Plus at 7.33mm all around, though it is pretty light at 954 grams. In a world where many flagships are moving to QHD, or even 4K in the case of the Xperia Z5 Premium, the Xperia Z5 opts to stick to 1080p. The 5.2-inch IPS screen packs a resolution of 1080 by 1920, which results in a 428 ppi pixel density. It has a pretty nice screen, and in terms of colors, it has fantastic. Colors are very vibrant and whites are very white, maybe leaning a little towards the warm side, but they still look very nice. If you want a more saturated image, you can easily do so within settings. The screen gets pretty bright too, and though you may have trouble seeing it in direct sunlight at times, it offers better brightness than a number of its competitors. Apart from colors though, the HD screen is not quite as beautiful as many other phone displays out there, even those that are still rocking 1080p. It almost appears that the Xperia Z5 is a slight step back from the Z3 Plus, as it seems like there is a very slight haze over everything. After keeping the same camera for the last few generations, the Xperia Z5 finally saw the sensor view megapixel up from 20.7 megapixel to 23 megapixel. Along with this megapixel improvement, you'll find autofocus and LED flash, though unfortunately there is no optical image stabilization on board. For what it is worth, the software video stabilization in it does a pretty nice job, even if it is not quite the same. I was pretty excited to test out this camera because some of the best smartphone camera sensors are supplied by Sony, and all over Sony's website they boast about the picture quality this thing can take. They even flaunt the megapixel count on the back of the phone. Unfortunately, the camera is not as great as you would think, and on top of that, the whole megapixel count is very misleading. Even though Sony is boasting that the Xperia Z5 is a 23-megapixel camera, that should really mean 8. Yes, the Z5 is capable of shooting in 23 megapixels, but for whatever reason, the camera software is not optimized for it, so when megapixeling a 23-megapixel shot to an 8-megapixel shot, the 8-megapixel shot will oftentimes look undoubtedly better. The great thing about Sony's Xperia phones is their software. The Xperia Z5 is running Android Lollipop 5.1.1 and it actually looks fairly close to stock Android. There are a number of additions Sony added to the software experience, but not so much as to make stock Android's designs unrecognizable. For example, you can change the clock style on the lock screen to some different options, and you can rearrange the icons or even hide some in the notification pull-down. The freedom to decide which icons are shown on the status bar is present with the Z5's software as well. So you can hide the battery percentage or time, kind of like what you're capable of doing with Android Marshmallow. themes are also available that include live wallpapers that move depending on where you touch. Just as we saw with the Sony Xperia Z3 Plus, the Xperia Z5 offers a Snapdragon 810, backed by the Adrenal 430 GPU and 3GB RAM. There is also 32GB internal storage in microSD for further expansion. All the normal connectivity options are here, including Wi-Fi 802.11, GPS, Bluetooth 4.1, 4G LTE, and NFC. As mentioned earlier, the phone also offers up a fingerprint scanner, waterproofing, and fairly high-quality front-facing speakers. Whenever you hear Snapdragon 810, you get curious about overheating and whether it has a legitimate problem. So does the 810 make the phone hot? Yes and no. When I first got the phone and installed all of my apps, it got hot. But from what I could tell, just as hot as it did on my LG G4, Note 5, and OnePlus 2 when doing the same thing. In normal use, however, I never noticed the phone getting the slightest bit hot. When doing more CPU-intensive stuff like gaming, the Z5 did get noticeably hot, but no more so than just about any other phone I've used. Technically the Z5 may overheat a bit more than other processors, but I wasn't able to notice it just by feeling. Gary Sims tested this more in depth in his Z5 compact review and found that for an app to stop working due to heat issues, you really have to be doing something crazy intense like shooting 4K video for over 20 minutes.